Hey guys, I'm Mike. I'm here in Texas, and I am here with my friend Brice, who is a... Hey, there he is. Hey. That didn't work very well. We gotta do it again.
I've been thinking, I think too much about the future. Now it is time that I start thinking about now. 'Cause there's so much to say if I'd only keep my head up. So much to be done, so everyone sing, yeah. We're alive for another chance to find a heartbeat and keep on dancing. And finally I'm seeing that today is my happiest day.
I am Mike, and I'm here in Texas at a conference for pastors, otherwise known as ministers, otherwise known as clergy, otherwise known as priests, otherwise known as ministers, otherwise known as church leaders, otherwise known as people without any other employable skills. But we meet together once in a while and talk about what we are unable to accomplish in society and a little bit about what we are able to accomplish. I'm here with one of those who is Brice, one of my friends from over the years, and Brice is a pastor in Boston, so I thought we could sit down and talk a little bit about his life in the city and how that goes for him. So, here we are.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Hi.
Brice. I've already said that you are in Boston.
That's right.
How long have you been in Boston?
6 years.
And
we
you
moved there in 2013.
Okay.
We being my wife and just the two of us at the time, and now we've 2 children.
And you live in Boston proper?
I live in Boston proper. Yeah, there's like many cities, there's multiple neighborhoods within, the city proper, and we live in a neighborhood called Jamaica Plain.
Okay.
It's where we live, and I work in a neighborhood called the South End.
And
at a church.
I've already revealed it, but you work at a church. They have you.
I can't believe it. I'm just as surprised as you. Yeah. All of it's surprising that I'm in Boston working at a church there.
Do you like living in the city?
I love it. Love living in the city. And I hate it.
Okay.
I mean, it comes with its challenges and its, it's expensive. Boston, I think, is the 3rd most expensive city in North America.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But it is. Lots of hospitals, lots of schools.
Yeah.
And that anyway.
Yeah.
But we love it.
Yeah.
I love living in the city. I love the fact that my children live in the city. I love the grit.
What do your children get from the city?
Sounds.
Okay.
They get things I won't know, but there are things that are shaping them, forming them, and it's the smoke coming up, right? It's it's the languages that they get to hear, the diversity. It's the people.
Yeah.
I like the normalcy that they're experiencing as a result of growing up there. I didn't have that experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was kind of your development life. You already mentioned you're surprised that you are leading a church, pastoring a church, or minister. And I probably weren't going to get a chance to talk about it, but there are times when that was completely not at all, like even attending in your horizon. You've tried to make the point that Boston is one of the most European cities, or the most. I think you said the most European city. In America.
I mean, I'm not a scholar.
Yeah.
I'm not a scholar on cities, but I feel like it is from conversations. I mean, even if you look at it on a map, the way it's designed is very European. It's more circular.
Right.
You know, everything sort of is leading in, and as opposed to Miami, where I spent a lot of time growing up, and everything's very linear in South Florida. It's 400 years old. This city, I mean, so what is it? 2020 and 1620, right? The Mayflower. Thank you.
Sail or landed.
We'll cut that part out.
We can cut that out.
Yeah, we'll just, because I don't,
But one of the things that Boston is similar to in that respect is, by and large, people aren't all that interested in Jesus or church. Other people who you have them there, but they're much more isolated than in other parts of America, right?
Yeah, there's no social benefit in the city of Boston to attending a church, being a member of a regular church community.
Yeah.
The main reason lots of reasons why people go to church, but you would really have to seek it out.
Yeah.
Something really interesting has happened in the city of Boston from what I've been able to learn as I've just been trying to listen as well as possible since we moved there, is that the city is going through radical transformation all across the map, like most urban centers are for lots of different reasons, but spiritually, there's a secularization, for lack of a better word, that's happening. People are caring less and less about the institutional church.
Right.
Less need for it. And at the same time, if you look at the statistics at the directory of the Church of Boston, you'll see that in the last 30 years, there are double the amount of churches, twice the amount of churches in the city than there were in 1998. And that's confusing. How could the city becoming both more churched and less churched at the same time?
Yeah.
And the short answer is the churches that are growing, multiplying at pretty exponential rates are not white churches, and they're not Western churches. They're immigrant churches primarily.
Right.
They're African churches, Latin American churches, families who have moved to Boston for a variety of different reasons, but who are bringing their faith with them to the city.
Yeah.
And so there's been a very interesting organic return in a way. Sociologists in the city call it a quiet revival.
Yeah. Okay. So your church, South End, help me, South End
Neighborhood Church of Emmanuel is the entire title of my church. South End Neighborhood Church of Emmanuel.
Not a white church, but it certainly has white people in it.
It has always had a white male pastor in its entire existence, but the church is primarily multicultural.
Is it a
white?
It
is not
Western.
the dominant.
It is Western.
It's Western church.
Yeah,
yes,
Western church.
absolutely. My church is Western Protestant, interdenominational, meaning we're pretty flexible. Theologically speaking, it's a place of real true belonging.
Now you are the primary person there who gets to stand up and talk, teach, say something.
That's a good way of putting it. I get to stand up and do all of these things. It is a privilege of mine to be able to do all this. But yes, I am the senior solo pastor of this parish.
You've also taken over the music of the church. Hopefully we can get Brice to play some guitar on the channel here.
Because, I don't know if you want it to blow up or not. Hand me a guitar, and then this could be the new Bieber, who is actually becoming a pastor. I think he's going to seminary now. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So
it was.
Bieber, if you need spiritual direction, if you need anything, just reach out to the Sanctus Institute. They're here for you. Michael's here for you.
Thanks for that plug.
Yeah.
Well, what I want to say with you being the teacher is you have, I know from already talking with you, have not given up on learning yourself. So who is it that teaches you or has taught you in your life?
Yeah. I've always loved to learn. Both of my parents are academics and in academia, so like I love to learn, and my mother actually teaches experiential education and what does it mean to learn in life and moments, and so I've always had a desire to be a lifelong learner and to learn in different facets. I was not very great at school. Traditionally taking tests, but I always just had this desire to learn, and so I found myself constantly learning from people, and there are, emotional intelligences, social intelligences that we need in order to learn well, and so and that has really, as much as I've loved, the saints, and we can go through the list of church fathers that I have loved over the years and learned from, and other spiritual leaders in my life. For the short video that we have, two names. First name is Eddie Nelson. Eddie is a member of our church, covenant member, for a very long time. He grew up in our neighborhood. The south end of Boston is a square mile. It's 55,000 people that live in that square mile, 40% affordable housing, very rich, very poor, very interesting, very beautiful, but very broken in a lot of ways. And Eddie has been a part of the South End as it's changed and emerged over the years, and has lived with his sister Carol, and has really struggled mentally over the years with certain disabilities, and yet has been the brightest bulb of light and joy in our little sort of community. And my first Sunday as the pastor of this church, our church has an outdoor service in the summer 3 times a year in a public park. So our unhoused neighbors and the Salvation Army who's next door, we all come together. It's this huge thing, it's great. And it's my first Sunday, and I happen to have been out of town, and I flew in that morning. I get to this church, it's outside service, and it's just the worst day ever. It's just terrible. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel so nervous, and but I was able to walk Eddie home, and Eddie takes me to his house, which he's really excited to show me, and he introduces me to his sister. And he says, "This is Father Brice. This is the best pastor in the world."
I love it. You've told me this before, that people call you Father Brice in your neighborhood, even
Father
though
Brice.
That's not really your tradition.
Dr. Bright, Father Brice.
Dr. Brice, you get that too?
Sometimes, you never know. Some moral authority, spiritual authority, this person, which doesn't make sense to me again, but this is Pastor Brice, the best pastor in the world. Which I feel bad for the previous pastor who had been there for 32 years, but at the same time, that is a benediction, which is a fancy way of saying it's just a really good word over somebody. It's a pronouncement of light and beauty and acceptance. I was completely accepted in that moment, and I learned that my life didn't need to be guided by the approval of others. And I was already approved by the people that mattered most. So that when you ask me how do I learn, and then has been going through this journey of spiritual direction, which again is potentially foreign concept to somebody who's never heard it before, and it was to me. And prior to moving to New England, I had no idea what it was, but I've learned how to listen from this person that I've built this relationship with, a spiritual director.
What are you talking about?
Well, that's the thing. I talk about pretty much anything.
Sports?
Sometimes, but generally the question that is guiding our conversation when I spend an hour with this person, as often as I can, which is rare these days, but as often as I can, very uncomfortable question of what's the state of your soul? Right? Which is a little bizarre because it's not something you generally ask yourself, but we'd all acknowledge that there probably is a soul in there somewhere, and it might have a state and
Yeah.
I clearly don't know what that state is. You know?
Do you find, I can understand that it would be, you open yourself up when you answer
open
that
up.
question honestly.
Yeah.
Do you find it an easy or difficult question to answer aside from the potentially embarrassing or disarming parts of?
Well, it's an impossible question to answer unless you have somebody who knows how to listen.
Okay.
So, really, I've learned how to listen well from watching my spiritual director listen to me. It just takes time. I don't think I had met a male figure that was a generation or two older than me that had listened to me.
Yeah.
And I hadn't known that until I had sat across the
Yeah.
the seat from Steve Macchia,
Yeah.
who for 40 minutes let me pour out and and guided that process, and
Yeah.
then spoke my words
Yeah.
back to me.
Yeah.
And so I've learned how to listen. I've learned learned acceptance, learned how to listen, and so primarily through people. It seems, as I'm sitting here talking to you, right? I learn a lot through people.
Yeah, no, I mean, what strikes me about what you've said is you haven't named people in traditional teaching roles. Even the spiritual director is not laying
No.
down truth for you or anything like that.
No, that's not the point.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
and same with your church member.
Yeah.
He's not in a particular. He's not in a role of teaching.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess truth is not best laid down, right? It's best experienced and
Yeah.
right. Learned.
Also.
Yeah.
Also.
Also.
Also,
That's right.
yeah. We're gonna have to say goodbye.
Yeah. But we always see each other like this.
Yes, and I do hope that I can make it to Boston and we can do some filming in your city and talk with you again.
Would you send him to Boston for 7 easy payments of $320? You can send Michael Stewart Robb to Boston, and we will provide you on the floor interviews.
Let's try this. Let's look at this camera right here. So thanks for watching today. I'm glad to have had Brice here. Thanks, Brice, for doing this, and thanks all to everybody who works behind the scenes, behind the camera. Thanks to all the Patreon sponsors who make this happen. If you would like to help us do more of these videos, Patreon is an excellent way to do that. I don't know what we're doing right now, but this is spooky. This is still really spooking me out. We will see you all then another
guys.
time, and hopefully in Boston at some point down the road. Bye then.
Take care.
We're alive for another chance to find a heartbeat and keep on dancing. And finally, I'm seeing that today is my happiest day.